Welcome to Rebecca Sounds Reveille. Oh, have I got a shout out for you today? Because with us, we've got a writer, a family commercial and fashion photographer, a cinematographer, and he is known for Moneybag, A Rising Circle, and My Pizza. There's more. He's going to talk about some of those things. He's also earned an associate's degree in film production, technology, along with a specialization in cinematography. I am really excited because we haven't really spoken too much about that. And what's even more special about our guest today is he's created a nonprofit called Kids Behind the Lens. And what this does, well, I'm going to let him share it because, oh man, this is super exciting. I love to talk about things that we're doing to help others, encourage others. And this is right up the alley with the things that we've been talking about. And so let's bring our guest on now. Welcome, Ken Montano.
Hello, Rebecca. How you doing?
I am doing fantastic. I'm jazzed at the things that you've got going, and you're just nonstop. This is just scratching the surface of the things that you do. And so I'm going to ask you, was the first thing that you started doing maybe in your younger years photography?
No, not at all. In fact, I didn't even like photography when I was younger.
No kidding.
Nope.
Okay.
I mean, I respected it and stuff, but I wasn't one of those kids that had a camera in his hand or anything.
This is really interesting. So, moving into photography and entertainment.
Actually, I came across, I just met somebody who was a photographer, and we hit it off really well, and we were friends. And then she had this business that she worked as a photographer in the hotel. So she would buy space to have an area within the hotel, and she needed help as another photographer. So she asked me if I wanted to join her, and that's how I started photography. So my first as a photographer was as a professional photographer because I was getting paid on my first day. So even though I didn't know what I was doing.
I think everybody wishes that they could jump into a job right away and just start getting, without training and experience, to start getting paid right away. But there is something to be said with being able to network and gain people who become friends, and you get to learn things that they're doing. And sometimes I kind of think that their excitement sort of fosters interest in us with the things that.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not excited about it, then you're not going to be excited about it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So that's just how energy works. You know?
Yeah, I think so too. And so you've been doing that for a while. You were doing family photography, and
yeah, I started that in 2012. I started that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you moved into commercial and fashion.
Yeah, within like a year or two later, I learned Photoshop and all that other stuff. Yeah.
So which is more difficult, do you think, to do? Family photography and getting everybody together and smiling and looking right at the same time, or the commercial fashion aspect, because there's so much, I guess, more demand in perfect picture?
I would say families for sure.
Okay.
They're always unpredictable. You always have the one straggler kid who just wants to do his own thing. You know, you got to put your shutter speed on like 1,000 to catch every little movement he gets, right? Or just get him to look at the camera. You know what I mean? That's. And then you have the father that doesn't want to be there. You know what I mean? And the mother and then they start arguing. Like, it's so funny when you think about it, because I have a lot of good pictures of families, and I remember like the behind the scenes, just like you would, like with your own pictures, right? So we all know what, like when you see a picture, like if you had a fight that day or whatever, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that family. They were a pain. You know what I mean? Like that kid, that grandma, and then other times it'd be like, oh, that family was great. And that's how I remember my own images, you know, just like other people do with their own images. So families, because the fashion stuff, it's more planned. You would have you know, your lights all and where you want them to be. It's usually in a studio. It's usually, yeah, it's just more fun too. It could be a lot of fun with the right family, but a lot of families can really be try your patience.
So
Yeah.
many people in the audience probably won't know this about me, but I happen to have been that kid. In fact, yeah, I don't know, probably 8, 9, 10, somewhere around there. We didn't have family over all the time, but this one particular moment that we did, and we didn't have a professional photographer, but dad was taking a picture and I was not happy. And so I either turned around or put my head down right when I knew I was going to take it. And I'm the only one in there just messing up that.
Right. And you knew that what you were doing too.
I did because I was irritated about whatever it was. You know, when you're a kid, little things can, whatever it was. I don't even know. I just know because that's the picture I see, and I'm thinking, what did I do that for? But I wasn't.
What I used to do, I used to have a good way with kids when I was if I saw a kid that was kind of like being like a straggler kid and like a problem kid, whatever, I would show them tricks and stuff, and then I would say, okay, if you want to learn how to do this trick, just be good for your mom and dad, and we'll get through this. And then at the end of the day, like at the end of the shoot, I would show them the trick, and then that's how I dealt with those kids a lot of times, but it didn't always work.
That's good to know, though, because oftentimes I think parents do get frustrated and they're trying to get everything just so. And I think on a parental end, that is a technique that they can utilize. It's not the bribery thing, but it's just that
it's like
go through this and you get this here. I mean, kind of
some reverse psychology in there. It's like, come on, you do this, I'll give you that, or I'll show you this, whatever.
Yeah, and so interesting. So then, did you move into film? I mean, as far as entertainment.
Well, like I said, I wasn't into photography as a kid.
Yeah.
But I was into film as a kid.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really what happened. I had a camera in my hands by the time I was like 11 years old. So it was my dad's camera, and I would go in and ask my dad, hey, can I use your video camera? Because I want to do some stop motion animation in my room with like my teddy bears and like Transformers or like other G.I. Joe men or whatever. And I used to like do stop motion animation, which is something they don't really do much anymore. It's usually, all computers now. But it was a lot of fun. And by the time I was like 15 years old, my dad was asking me for the camera. You know what I mean? He's like, hey, Ken, I have to go, so it's just something I fell in love with like at an early age.
I think it's really important for us to pay attention to our passions from when we were young, because those things that excited us then usually will, if we haven't used them for a while, reignite. And so it's really interesting because I've always loved photography. I haven't been the best, but I've loved it. I've loved capturing images and being able to see them. And one of the things that I had an opportunity to do in high school was work in the photography department.
Oh, cool.
And develop the film and understand negatives and the chemical solutions and things.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Many people don't have to deal with that now because you haven't used that.
Well, nowadays, it's even easier. Now, it used to be like when, was it like 10, 15 years ago, they're like, oh, we got these electronic cameras. We can actually see the picture. We don't have to go into like the dark room, right? But nowadays, you could literally, before you hit the button, you could see what the picture's going to look like. That's power, you know what I mean? So it's like
incredible.
Anybody can be a photographer nowadays. It's so easy with the right camera,
Okay, that's really interesting. And I'm
you can actually look through the viewfinder, and it actually changes the exposure as you're messing with the camera. So how could you mess that up? You know what I mean?
That is so true.
You sit all day going, all right, wait a minute. Oh, there we go. Click.
Yeah. And maybe you just have to know like M, P, auto.
Yeah, right. Manual.
Simply things. Yeah, I mean, it's bringing back memories of people not, you don't want anybody to open that door when you got the red light going on in the dark room.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've never done that at all. So
Oh, no. Okay. So maybe
that's really cool that you know that.
it's really neat. I mean, it was really fascinating to see. And it was sort of kind of like having the, the Polaroid Insta film, and you're just waiting for it to, expose. But at any rate, how long did it take from you going as a child into film, into actual film production?
Oh God. When I was like 13, from like 12 to like 15, um, I have a cousin, and he's like 3 or 4 years older than me, and he had his own video camera, and I would go over there for the weekend at his house, and we would spend the whole weekend making movies.
How fun!
Yeah, like our own little movies that we made, and it's really fun.
Are you gonna use any of those in the things that you're doing?
I mean, we had like one or three ideas back then that we were doing, because it was mostly his. It was like his films, and I was just there to help him out and be the actor and be the, you know what I mean. So, but it's funny because I'm getting married this July.
Congratulations!
Yeah, and I'm inviting him to come down, and I haven't seen him in like years. So it'd be funny, like if he still has like those tapes of us, like when we were like 14, 18 years old.
Yes.
Thank you.
I am so excited for you, and I am sure that you're going to know where you want everything placed to get the right shots and everything.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you talk about our childhood and being behind the camera, because when you have a love for it, it's funny when you look back on your pictures, you've got everybody else in them but you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I was going through some old pictures not too long ago, and I was looking at them, and I'm thinking, gosh, I mean, I have everybody's journey except for mine in there. So it's really neat when you see some of your stuff. You're like, oh gosh, But how is it different doing film, say with your cousin, than actually being on set and getting ready to make something just come alive?
It's the same feeling. It's not much different other than just the scale of what I'm doing it now. Okay. We didn't have any production equipment when we were doing it. My cousin, it was just a camera and a house and outside. That's it. So
was it a Panavision?
What?
A Panavision. What type of camera were you using?
Oh, those. You know how, like from the '80s, like those camcorders, or like rocket launcher.
Do they have the microphone? Like,
yeah, exactly. And that's what we used. Yeah. So we didn't have any microphones. We didn't have any. We just had story ideas, and we knew what we liked as far as like films, and he liked horror films, so we created a horror film and stuff. So it was just fun.
This sounds so much fun, and I love the things that you're doing. You just wrapped up on something pretty recent. I'm going to keep that under hats just until you release the things that you got going on this, and I definitely want you to come back and talk about that. But let's talk about something that you're doing all the time right now, every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday, I started this like a month ago, maybe almost 2 months ago, I guess. On my YouTube channel, which is basically every Tuesday, I'm going to premiere a short film every Tuesday at 8 p.m. That's what I do. So I could do that because I've been, since 2020, I've been shooting like films, and there's like 3 or 4 films that I have yet to complete. So I'm just taking like a little like snippets from those and like making them into like little like really shorter films, like a 4 or 5 minute film. So that's how I'm able to do this right now. Otherwise, how can you make a film every Tuesday? You can't.
I think that this is great, simply because right now, short video is in demand. You see this on a number of social media platforms. TikTok has taken the lead in this, and you have other social media platforms that are replicating it through reels and stories. But to take some of your work and sort of, it's not just a trailer, this is a shorts that comes out every Tuesday. And now you're engaging people to see what's going to be coming. I love this. I love this idea, completely out of the box, but so the timing with what you're doing is so perfect.
And not all the films that will premiere on Tuesday will be older films. Like the one that I just shot this weekend, in 2 months, I'm going to premiere that here too. So I'm just excited to be making more films at a consistent, because I would say consistency equals success, right? Like the more that you do something, like the better that you're going to get. So that's what I'm doing.
I want to take that as today's big key learning point for everybody. Consistency is the key to success. I try to make sure everybody, every episode, that we have something that can help people change their life. And I think that this is a really, really important thing to say. And well, the second thing out of the show so far is that your passion as a kid, listen to that, because it's going to foster something that you're going to love later on. Work doesn't become work that way. And then it's true. Consistency is essential to success, because as you're doing things grow from it, and people that you're building rapport with, or who are watching you, they gain this trust relationship with you, even if it's just on screen. And so when you're consistent about doing something, it shows you're reliable, and so much more about you becomes connected with people, and that lands you in places you never dreamed of.
And we know, like, every year people do the same thing. It's like Happy New Year, and then they're like, no, I'm going to change. I'm going to do things. And then like 2 months later, they're, it's the same person again. You know what I mean? Well, I wanted to make sure that doesn't happen. So I was like, well, how could I do that? Well, if I say I'm going to, every Tuesday, then it's going to come out every Tuesday. I have to be accountable for that. It keeps me on a schedule,
I love that. And with that too, I think that when you're being consistent and you look at your yearly goals at the end of what you were just consistent with, you're going to see the potential for new growth to be added to that. And because you've already adapted to that, it won't be too much more difficult to add a new component and just have that grow. Oftentimes we don't think about all of the opportunities that come along with consistency. And like, okay, I'm just going to do this, but you don't want to get in a routine that leaves you stagnant. You just get it to a point now where you can go, okay, it's so funny, kind of like when you're learning something new, it might take you an hour. And then as you begin to master it, at some point, it might only take you 5 minutes to do it. But that other, 55 minutes, now you can incorporate something else and grow. And it just allows you to continue to grow this circle influence that you're creating.
Yeah, it seems like I was talking to somebody not too long ago about, they say they're a filmmaker. And I was like, well, let me see your work. And I couldn't find their work anywhere. And so I was like, well, so you're not a filmmaker. You like film, you're like, you're really into it. But until you make a film, put your name on it. And you know what I mean? Like, you can't. So I see like a lot of that going like around, and it's like, and then, well, it's like, you're not a film, you're just like really into film until you start making films. So like, I could actually say that I'm a filmmaker now. You know what I mean? Like, that means something to me.
It does mean something. And in IMDb, this means something. You're acknowledged in the industry as a professional and an expert. And not to mention that, let's going back to not only experience making you an expert, you have an associate's degree, and your associate's degree is big with what you've done.
That's funny, because I didn't really learn much. I mean, the stuff I learned, when I went to Valencia and then I was at UCF and stuff, it's not the stuff that made the difference of what I'm doing now.
Okay.
Like, it's like I know how to wrap a chord because I went to college. Like I knew a lot of stuff before that too, but it wasn't until like the last couple of years when I really dug into it.
Okay.
Because for years I was like those people that was like, no, like I watch films, I understand film, but they don't really make their own films. They're like trying to make their own films, so they're trying to get into like that world, And I was trying to do that for like a long time, trying to get on sets where I can and help out and stuff. And anytime I would say, hey, I could help, I could do more, I could never get ahead. I didn't get ahead until I started making my own films.
So, do you think that, okay, there's something to say about just getting out there and doing hands-on, because I think you probably, just based on what I'm hearing you say, is that you knew a lot before you went in there, and you were probably even able to help other students saying, okay, if you just do this, this is going to help us, get this accomplished. Because you've been using that. That's it. That's something else I want to, share with the audience, in that sometimes we kind of have this perception that we have to go to school, but the real hands-on stuff that you learn is out in the field. And something may not work exactly as it was in the classroom, and you have to do all these different modifications or be adaptable.
I think the bigger problem is that when you say you want to be a filmmaker, or you're walking around saying you're a filmmaker and you have filmmaker friends or whatever, you want to impress them.
Okay.
And you're afraid to put anything out. You're afraid to make anything and put your name on it because you're like, well, yeah, I did make that. Oh, yeah, I know the sound was kind of bad. Well, duh. You have to start wherever you are. Just admit to yourself, yeah, I don't know. Stop. You know what I mean? Like, and
I'll share something with you.
Like grow from there. But
absolutely, you do grow from there. When I first started doing a radio show that eventually turned into adding the video, my very first show, it was 2 hours long. It was solo. I thought I had enough content. I didn't. I was completely nervous, even though I had been doing public speaking for many, many years. There was something completely different about that. And if we were to go back and listen to this, it would be like, oh my goodness. But I put it out there because this is what you do. And it's actually great to see someone grow. When you have an audience and a fan base that grows with you over time, it's a tremendous thing, because they'll say, I can remember when, and they'll still be able to identify, hey, you are a real person. It wasn't something, there's just such a really neat connection that way too. And I do encourage anybody, like you're saying, if you've got something, get out there and put it out. If this is what you want to do and you're saying you're doing it, put it out there.
No fear, because if you don't do it now, 5 years from now, you're going to be like in the same spot because you didn't start yet. It's stupid.
Yes. And it's all fear driven. Like you're saying, people are afraid what somebody's going to think. The audio wasn't that great, or sometimes it's our own fear of meeting our own expectations. But I think you're 100% accurate.
Yeah. No, they're more worried about their friends.
Yeah. Okay. So let's think about our friends for a second, and going back in time to the childhood, because I could talk to you, Ken, all day about this stuff. But before I let you go, I really want to talk about what you're doing with Kids Behind the Lens.
Oh, that was something I did, a couple of years ago. It was this great idea where we rented out a studio, and we divided the studio into like 5 different halves. And so we had like 5 different spaces, and each space represented a job that a photographer would go on. Like we had supposed to be like at, like a wedding. We had like a rock star concert going on at one of the other ones. And the kids, the idea was that they're supposed to be getting these calls, because the idea was that I couldn't handle all the work, so I had to hire these kids.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, quick, you have to go to this rock concert. So then, all the kids would shift over to the rock concert area, and they we supplied them with their own, with actual actual cameras. And then we just let them, I started off by giving them like a 10-minute course in like the basics of photography. Mm-hmm. And then we let them go from space to each space, I think, was like 5 minutes each, I think. And then when the 5 minutes were up, they would all walk up to the next one. And we had a ball because we had photographers there, like as like, what do we call them? Photographer, like the teachers, whatever. And
I love this.
I want to do it again sometime in the near future because we had a lot. The kids were just great. They were taking really good pictures too.
I would love to see that. In fact, you're bringing back something to mind where it tells me how important that this is. And I had these lenses and I needed to find some information about these lenses and the different cameras that I had and so on and so forth. Long and short of it is I couldn't find a photography shop anywhere. There just wasn't any. So I found one in a location that I was going to be traveling through, and I went in and I had to wait because there's people coming in that had business to do. And I was excited to see, I was so glad that I had an opportunity to wait because there were college students coming in and they were looking to make purchases of cameras from way back. And so their instructor was starting them on old school cameras. Here's, how to capture black and whites and you need this. And so I thought that was really great. What you're doing is the younger informative years. And I think this is a really great opportunity for them to get in there and get some experience and see some things that they might like. And the creative side of film, cinematography, photography, I just think that really allows things that are going on within us to just explode when we can convey it through this method.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
I love it. I am a film person. I've got a humongous trunk full of pictures, and everybody's like, "I'll just snapshot it, and then you can throw the photograph out." And I'm like, "No, I mean, there's something to be said for all of those." But I really believe that you get to see things from different perspective, even though you're looking through the lens. After you see it, you get a completely different perspective on some things as well. So I'm just excited about what you're doing. I'd like to see you do more of that. In fact,
I do, yeah. Fun.
Yeah, and if you do, I'd love to help with that in some context.
Sure.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Woo,
love that.
He's behind the lens. Let's do it.
Yeah, behind the lens. I get thrilled.
I'm actually still getting emails from it. Like emails from the kids who originally were there and saying, she's actually doing photography now still, you know what I mean? Like, so It's like, it's really cool.
And this is very exciting. And I just got to share with the audience that if you want to get involved in this too, please definitely contact either myself or Ken, because I really believe in equipping our youth.
Have you seen the pictures from it? I haven't showed you the pictures from it, right?
No, not yet.
I could send you some pictures from it later.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Super excited about this. So let me just share with the audience, or have you share with the audience, how they can get in contact with you and stay on top of what you're doing, and especially tune in to this new breed of entertainment that you are delivering every Tuesday night.
Yeah, well, my YouTube channel is Montano Productions, Montano, and I'm on Facebook, of course, but who isn't?
You have a photography website as well. It's got your
I have a photography website. Yep, Ken Montano Photography. So if you need headshots, I do headshots for actors. I do 30-second spots, like commercial spots. If you have like a business, whatever. So, make your brand look more professional. Not just I mean, I could do a longer spot than 30 seconds, but that's where it starts. And yeah, that's it for me as far as how you can reach me.
Somebody wanted to work with you and get some headshots done, but they live on the other side of the country. If they were to take some photographs that you said, okay, I need, your head here, your shoulders here, could you edit them and make them professional?
I mean, if they were shot with a good camera, and I would advise them to shoot it in RAW in that JPEG format. Yeah, I could.
Okay. Great. So we have lots of opportunities for those of you who are watching, listening. You can definitely connect with Ken to see the things that he's got going on. He's doing something out of the box. None of the other cinematographers are doing this right now. You've got to check out his shorts that are coming out every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time on YouTube at the channel Montano Productions. We also want you to connect with him on Facebook or any other social media platform, including checking out his website so that if you need anything, whether it's commercials, maybe you have something small production that you need done. Lots to do. Ken's the guy. You've got to check it out. I'm delighted. I can't even begin to tell you how much this brings me joy to think that there's even more that we can do with our youth through the things that he's doing. And like I said before, if you want to get involved too, just get in touch with us. Me, Rebecca Mahan at Publicist.com. We got a lot going on. Thank you so much, Ken, for being with us.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
The time just went by like snap.
I know.
That was it. I've got so much more to talk with you about, so we'll definitely have you back again. Thank you.
All right, cool. Thank you so much.
And thank all of you for tuning into another episode of Rebecca Sounds Reveille. So delighted because this particular episode not only gave you an opportunity to get to know Ken, but he shared so many really important points that are going to make a difference in our lives. And this is the kind of person that I think is somebody that you should connect with and follow, because he's going to continue to provide inspiration and give you tools and resources and hope to make a difference in your own life or that of somebody you know. So make sure that you get this out there to everybody on social media in any fashion that you can, with those that you know and everybody that you don't. Thanks for tuning in.